Salutations, listeners, and welcome back to Glitch Bottle, the podcast where we uncork the uncommon in magic, mysticism, and the generally misunderstood. I'm your host, Alexander Ath, and today we are so honored to talk about the art of transmuting violence and defensive art esoterically with the wonderful Ukrainian-based esoteric artist known as Nightgrowler. Now, listeners, I know you might be asking yourselves things like, how does an artist confront, for example, and transmute the elements of war and death and destruction that they encounter in their daily life? How does an artist evoke a spiritual entity into their own work? Is all art spiritual, or is there a barrier? Is there a dichotomy? Is there a separation there? Well, Ukrainian esoteric artist Nightgrowler is one of the best people to ask, because since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago, bomb sirens and scenes of destruction and the scenes of war have been commonplace for Nightgrowler, who the first time Nightgrowler stopped on the podcast, he was sheltering inside Kyiv in the Ukrainian capital city. And so in this episode, we are so fortunate that Nightgrowler is taking some time with us. We are looking forward to catching up with Nightgrowler, but also talking about ways that Nightgrowler transmutes those elements of war in art, in defensive magic, and also talking about 3D sculpting and just so much more. Also, a huge thanks to each and every podcast supporter on Patreon for your wonderful questions for Nightgrowler as well. Always so amazing to get these great questions from the patrons. And with all that being said, Nightgrowler, thank you so much for taking the time and returning back on the podcast today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here, because I wanted to start from some small Thanksgiving. First of all, to you, because your library of the podcasts is astonishing. It's like I don't know how to put that in that context and in right words, because while you are moving through such turbulent times and living much closer to the death in this situation, and listening to your podcasts with persons like Jake Stratton Kent, it gives a very tangible feeling of significance of your work, because you are capturing the voices, you are having those very important, I think, conversations about the topics which are not so popular in our times, but which are, in my honest opinion, vital to the civilization itself. So my first thanks is to you for this opportunity, and for all your great effort which you are putting into this work. And my second Thanksgiving, which probably should be first, is to the armed forces of Ukraine, because they are defending us, and they are providing me personally this opportunity to be here and to share all those experiences and all those valuable information about what is happening from my personal perspective. Also, I wanted to say thank you to every listener on this podcast, because nowadays world is full of different noises and signals, and your choice to be here and now with us is very valuable, and it is, for my once again honest opinion, and investment into the future and into the sense making, into some kind of once again transmuting all these strange phenomena in our reality into something valuable and something powerful and something important. Also, I wanted to say thanks to my beautiful lady, to the Ohikolts, also known as Darina. I will talk about her later, but her support and her presence in my life are very vital to me. I love you. I love you. I wanted to say this. So let's move on. Thank you.
Well, I don't know what to say in response to that, Nightgrowler, except the honor is certainly mine. And I know with the listeners too, we're so glad you are here and you are taking the time, and that's incredibly high praise. And right back at you with the art you create and a lot of the themes that we're going to get into later today about your artistic process, the transmutation process, and everything. And so I think, Nightgrowler, the best place to start would be where you and I left off 2 years ago. It's been 2 years since you've been on the podcast, and so for you, it's been 2 years of staying in Ukraine, being in Kyiv, and living in a war-torn country. So first and foremost, just how are you doing? Are you still in the same place? How is your safety right now? The ones that you love? Can you just give us an update on that?
Okay, moving on from the place where we left off 2 years ago. 1 second, I need to say my sorry in forward for my English. That's first of all for me to be more calm about it because it's far from perfect. I can stop sometimes, maybe even Google some words, but I needed to say that. So, 2 years ago, when we were recording the podcast, I was sheltering in the house, a private house, which had and has a basement. And that basement was our primary place to sleep because at that time war near Kiev was at very intense rate, and it was basically more safe to have a sleep in a basement because you don't know where next rocket will land, and civilian buildings were damaged, and there were lots of very stressful environment was not so friendly, so to say. And we lived there like for, I guess, 3 months. And then we moved back to our apartment, which is on the 12th floor, which is pretty high, and it's quite uncomfortable when the airstrike alarms are on, and you are basically waiting while this will end. That's usually like for 2-3 hours, sometimes more. And to be honest, for last, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, it's much calmer here in Kyiv. Those cities which are close to the front line, they are in insane state for all these 2 years because the pressure there is extreme. And also port cities like Odessa, they are suffering too because Russians are trying to to damage all our attempts to sell one of our most valuable resource, which is wheat and grains and all agricultural export, because Ukraine is basically one of the richest countries on the black soil, and agricultural segment is one of most important for us. And Russians were attacking our facilities of the wheat, and they were destroying the ships which are trying to export our agricultural resources. So Odessa and frontline cities are suffering very much. And here in Kiev, this winter was that's so strange times, because this winter was good because there were like fewer than 10 massive strikes, because Russians have now, I guess, new tradition to greet us on the New Year with most massive airstrikes for whole year. And this year and last year, that was like very intense. A rocket landed in 500 meters from me, from the building in which I live. It was most loud explosion which I've ever heard, and it was terrifying. And in 2002, 2003 winter, they were intensely attacking our electrical infrastructure, because I suppose they were hoping that with all blackouts and with all that stuff, that we will go to our government and demand some capitulation, or I don't know what did they want with that, because it was basically a terror of civilian people, because there wasn't any military context with those attacks on our electrical infrastructure. So that winter, which was before this year, it was quite terrifying. We had some days without completely without electricity, and you can imagine how much modern society is dependent on electricity. So many hospitals, many most valuable infrastructural buildings were functioning basically on the electricity which was from the generators and from some batteries which were charged, and all other people had to deal with it on their own terms, like power banks or whatever, candles. What do you have? You use it, because we were cooking on the fire, which is basically for the for like mountain and for camping, all that stuff. We had a small fire engine. I don't know how to put it in the right words. Like camping local fires. So we were basically having this at home and cooking with camping stuff, don't know. And Basically, even talking about this is giving me unpleasant chills because remembering and reliving all that experience is quite, I don't know, frustrating is not that word. It was very exhaustive. It was very stressful. It was very, it had very how dare you vibe because basically, mm, even if you look at a whole invasion, it is nonsense from the beginning because it's a military campaign against the sovereign country with nonsensical reasons, like, I don't know, defense of the Russian language speaking population and all that shit which Putin is trying to give as a justification of all this invasion. And that's one of the important parts of this because I clearly was a Russian-speaking population of Ukraine because I was raised in the family where my mother she was from Russia, from the city. Maybe it's a village, Ussurisk. It is on the far east. It's very distant one. And my father is from the city Zhytomyr in Ukraine. And Zhytomyr is pretty Russian language speaking city. Many of its citizens are speaking Russian, and it was okay because after the Soviet Union, in the Soviet Union, there was very intense mixing of the population between Belarus, between Russia, between Ukraine. It was due to the some people were serving in army in USSR, and the movement was because of that. Some people were heading to the educational purposes in other part of the Soviet Union. Some were mixed by the mission of Soviet Union itself for some reasons. And Russian was like uniting, like lingua franca for Soviet Union, you can say. And because of that, after the Soviet Union was, I don't know, after it fell, many of people which left on their territories were continuing to speak in Russian, and it was like, okay, everyone can understand it, and why not to do so? And here we are. Why not to do so? Because, as I said, I was speaking Russian my whole life. I was raised by my parents in Russian language. I was going to the school, which was Russian-speaking school too. And when I, after the invasion, began to dive deeper into the history of this conflict, about how Ukraine and Russia, former Moscow Empire, what relationships were between the people on these territories throughout the history. I began to see that this history of oppression of Ukraine is far older than most of us were thinking, because Ukrainian language is something which was repressed for, like, I don't know, 300-400 years. And Russia is basically trying to to propagate the narrative that Ukrainian language is non-existent thing, that it is some sort of a dialect of Russian, and that's not true. There are lots of evidences on that topic, and I will send you a link which can be placed in the podcast description, or I don't know, for those who is interested in this conflict in historical context. There is a great series on the YouTube which are describing basics about the language, about how our and Russian military forces were developed throughout the ages, how the laws in those both countries were developed. And all of these videos are available in English language, so you could like to check out our side of this conflict. And basically, as I understand all those complicated topics, one of the major points which isn't like not everyone is aware of this is that Russia in overall its vibe, despite the claims that they are descendants of the Kiev Rus. From this information that I have, that's not as much true as the opinion that Russia is a more direct descendant from the Golden Horde. Because basically Moscow and Moscow region and later Moscow Empire, it was raised on the how do you say that? Who was Judas in Jesus' story? What was his obligation in the Jesus' disciples?
He was known as the son of perdition, I believe. He was the prophesied person who was in Christianity was to betray the Son of God and fulfill the prophecy.
I'm not talking about that. I'm about he was collector of the debts.
He was a tax collector?
Taxes, yeah.
Tax collector. Sure.
So yeah, the role of the Moscow was to collect taxes for the horde from the Slavic region. And very quickly, they began getting more and more resources from that labor, and they began to incorporate lots of Golden Horde like overall attitude and overall methods of working with people, and this explains lots of things and overall expansional, I don't know, greed or what is that? Because it's very strange to have a neighbor like this, because one of the things which was like some sort of norm was that big brother mentality, where Russians were thinking that they are big brothers of Ukraine, and they know better what should we do with our land, with our people, with any of other intentions, of our intentions. And It was like some sort of norm, and it was on every scale of the fractal, like from the governments to the regular people, because I can remember how I was engaging with some Russians, and like we have played video games online, and if there were any discussions about politics, they were like with monocles and their expert opinion about what should Ukraine do. And it was like they haven't even doubted their right to do so, and it was always like Russians were visiting Ukraine like a summer house. I don't know. Do you have this concept of the summer house like in the village? I don't know. I don't know how it says in English. So they were looking at us as their own people, their own folk, like if I am correct, in the times of the Peter the First, Ukrainian territories were named as Malorussia. It's basically less Russian, Little Russia, and that's the narrative which was. That was like a mask which was put it on whole nation by the Russians, and it was the process and that dependency on the Russian culture, on the Russian economics, and overall Russian influence was so strong that at some point many of us was believing that we are less Russians, so to say. And it was always prestige to have education in Moscow or in Saint Petersburg, and it was even like kind of humiliating when you are talking in Ukrainian to someone who is talking to you in Russian. It was like the village talk, so to speak. So everything Ukrainian was associated with not educated enough. And if you are diving into Ukrainian culture, if you are taking some time to actually explore something of it, and of its history, you are beginning to wonder why is that so? Who and how could lie to us right in the eyes, and we could believe this? Because if you are looking even on the literature, one of the first important works of the Ukrainian writers is Aeneida. It's basically an Iliad in the Cossack from Zaporizhian siege environment retelling. And it was written before Pushkin, before Dostoevsky, and Russians are claiming that Ukraine and Ukrainian language were invented by who? By Lenin, by all that nonsense which Putin is putting outside. That's just ridiculous if you are having like a 10 minutes research on that. So that's like, in short, we are we are going through complicated times. We are holding on. we are moving forward. I answering the question how personally I feel. I feel it's hard to complain. I can remember quite good first days, first months of the invasion. That was just horrible experience, and nowadays I have my own everyday struggles. I have lots of them. You name it, news, like some basic human survival things, and everything of that. But it's hard to complain because everything could get much, much worse if any of Russian plans would go according to those plans, because there are lots of evidences that they thought that they will capture Ukraine for 3 days, and that was possible, but due to the heroic deeds of our armed forces, they couldn't manage to do this. So
Yes, and during all of this time, during all of the last 2 years that you've been living every single day in Kyiv and chatting with people, Nightgrowler, you're also creating esoteric art. You're actually
yeah,
incorporating all of this over the years, so literally years at this point. So, given that everything you described, the history, and also the 2 years that you've personally lived through, you've seen, you've experienced, you've lived these elements of war and destruction. And so I think there are many listeners out there, I know myself, wondering too, given all of this, how do you, as an artist, take those elements, those harsh, you know, death riddled, war and destructive elements, and how do you transmute those into your art? I mean, what is the process as an artist of being in such a charged and literally day to day existence environment? And how do you do this? How do you transmute those forces into esoteric expressions?
for these 2 years, as an initial impulse in creating an artwork, I have a few major sources. First of all, that's an intuition, I guess. It leads me as as some sort of guiding spirit, I guess. Secondly, it's what is happening around me. And third thing, which is bound to the second, it's astrological aspect of the moment, because every planetary day and movements of the moon and some placements of the planets, they are often my guiding light in this topic. And I don't remember, on the previous podcast, have I mentioned about the drawing of the Zeus, of the Perun?
I believe you touched on it, but please, for listeners who maybe haven't checked out, although please check out the links below, listeners, to see the first podcast with Nightgrowler, but please feel free to elaborate on it as well.
Well, that's a very powerful example of how I'm living through this experience, through my art, because without my art, I don't know if I could stay even sane at this point, because that's very, very important tool which helps a lot. And about that drawing, I will send you it right now. 1 second. So it was at the time when Russians were still very nearby to Kiev. They were like in few kilometers from Kiev, and it was when the city Irpin and city Bucha were still occupied by Russians, and Ukrainian forces were trying to get Russians out from those cities. And I can remember that night very well because you could hear that process from very long distance, because whole night the earth was basically trembling. It was it wasn't environment in which you could sleep. So to basically go through this, I was sitting and drawing, because one of the worst parts of living through moments like this is the fact that when you hear the explosions, when you hear that Earth is trembling, you don't know which side kicks the essence of the which side. You don't know who is winning. You don't know, is it death coming to you, or is it our forces defending us? And it was Thursday night, which led me to my decision around the force to which I would like to ask for help. And here in Ukraine, we have some bits of some remains of Slavic mythology. And in Slavic mythology, there is that god Perun, which is equivalent of Zeus. And he has some familiarities with also Scandinavic Thor. And he is a god of thunder, he is god of war. He was a god of the Vladimir, who was one of the major rulers of Kiev Rus. And Perun, he has an axe as his main weapon. So little bits of random chaos magic were at that night in my head, because as main point of reference to the picture itself, I took the Kratos from the God of War. Because he has an axe too, and because he is most famous god of war in current moment, because any kid know who Kratos is, even if they don't know Zeus, Thor, or any other thunder god. And while I was drawing this picture, hearing every trembling of the earth, I was imagining that it is Perun who is with the hands of Ukrainian military forces, who is punishing the invaders. And at that moment, a little poem emerged in my head. It sounded something like this. The earth is trembling all the night. I make my prayer to thunder god. Punish unjust with holy light. Perun, O Zeus, almighty Lord. You have 1,000 holy names. The lightning is your axe and spear. Protect my land, my people's fates, and make the enemy disappear. Well, on the next day, there were news that Russians are fleeing from the Kiev region. That was very intense, and I'm not in any way saying that my picture was the reason why they fled, because it's obviously not true, because our defensive forces are the main reason. One of the ways how I explain myself, how my works of art are aligning with some events which are going forward after I make these artworks. It's like art and magic as attempt to navigate, I don't know, multiverse or whatever, being here and now. We are on the crossroads of any possibilities. There are there is infinite amount of possible universes and futures into which we can go, and for me, making those artworks and binding them to the magical acts, for me it is like an attempt to navigate this infinite amount of possibilities. So I hope that my art is leading me to some kind of better future. And I had several artworks which were very, very important and impressive to me personally, and they were like some sort of confirmation that I'm doing something right. And it is not only due to those synchronicities in with the Perun, but also, which is very important, due to the feedback which I got from some people on my artwork, because there was I will send you now an image of the crest of Izum, which I've made. Izum is a city which name is basically stands for the dried grapes. I don't know how it's said in English, and I will show you how the crest of Izum looks like normally, without my interpretation. So I was doing lots of images of the crest of Ukrainian cities, which are surrounded by the protective circle of yellow and blue, which are colors of Ukrainian flag. And Izum was under occupation, and I've made this image where I took a tetractys from Neoplatonist, from Platonic, from as far as I can remember, even Pythagoras was very fond of this geometrical figure, and I took the grapes of the crest of Izum and reinterpreted them into this tetractys form. And I've uploaded it on the Instagram and all other social media. And sometime later, I've got a message from a girl which was saying that they fled from the Izum while Izum was still under occupation. It is free now from the Russians. And she wanted to say thanks because she and her family, for them, this image was very important symbol which kept them to keep going. Basically, it was their talisman. And I believe that with my work, that is a thing which I am forging. These are like talismans. So that's why my path is something like, I don't know, art gnosis, or how can you name it? For me, art became very sacred thing, and it's my main way of working with magic and with my life, basically.
Is absolutely incredible, Nightgrowler. And I think this leads directly to the first listener question that we have for you about this process of your art and how you create art. And that listener question comes from Glitch Bottle patron Anna Madalena. And Anna is asking and saying, when you set out, Nightgrowler, to depict a deity, a daimon, an angel, or some other power, what is your process for evoking them in art? Do you invoke the being to be depicted? Do you meditate on them? Do you research their iconography, or just throw yourself into the creation and trust that the right image will emerge? What is your process? Anna is asking. Nightgrowler.
Well, first of all, thank you for a wonderful question, Anna. And I believe that in a bit, it is all of those things mentioned. As I was saying, one of my main leading forces for last time is intuition. And lots of time I am trying to catch like a signal from my intuition what to do next, because I have lots of projects which are running in parallel. I have my tarot deck work in progress. I have magical talismans. I have Ukrainian magic alphabet, on which I think I will talk a bit later. I have a few commission workings going on. And from recent times, I'm working with 3D graphics and exploring also this realm. So having so much work in all these parallel processes, I have to have some system of choice. I don't know how I am choosing my time with which I'm working. So often it depends on the planetary day and planetary hours. Like with my talismans, I am often making an image according to the placements of the planets and according to the moon, because lots of my talismans are planetary aligned, and well, without astrology, that would be strange to make those designs not according to the movements of the planets. Secondly, sometimes I have just random insight that right now I need to draw this particular deity, and it can be with ritual preparation, it can be with some mantras, it can be with various ways of how I'm preparing to the work. Sometimes it's the research, like sometimes it can be even just musical composition made on repeat. And sometimes it's everything of all that mentioned, because few of my works were like a constellation of different practices and different angles from which I've approached some particular deity. I have the talisman design of Heruraha. It is a Thelemic deity, which is two sides of the Horus. Horus the child, Hur-Pakrat, and Horus the warrior, Rahur-Huid. And that design was polishing itself for, I don't know, like more than a year, I believe, because it is highly inspired by the Gnostic gems with Abrasax and with images of the Horus the child sitting on the lotus. And I was looking for right geometry for quite some time. I was invoking Horus on different times of the year, like on the equinox and winter solstice. And I was gathering lots of material, and it was very, very long journey before I came up with some sort of design which is satisfying me, because I was looking at the picture and I was like, okay, that's nice picture. That's like because of my lifelong skill of artistic depictions of anything, it is okay as a design, but it definitely does not transmit that magical power, that those ideas which I would like it would transmit. So some of the designs I'm polishing for very long time, and some of these are very quicksilvery, like my Mercurial talisman design, and it was basically drawn for I don't know, 2-3 hours, maybe less. And Mercury is famous for being pretty fast. So I think it's quite unstable in its nature process and very, very multifaceted. So it's everything of those mentioned.
Yeah, it just sounds like you are drawing from a reservoir of different tributaries, different elements,
Yeah,
different
yeah.
things that you're synthesizing. And I absolutely love that. It's so multifaceted. And I think this also leads as well, Nightgrowler, to another listener question that we have for you from Glitch Bottle patron Naomi C. Taranis. And Naomi is asking and saying, Nightgrowler, what do you think is more, excuse me, what do you think is more important in creating magical slash spiritual art? Practicing excellence or being in the right energy and vibration, and why?
Thank you for the question, Naomi. That's I don't know if there is an answer for this, because the very nature of art is very strange, and I believe it cannot be viewed in one single way. If perfectionism is stopping you from doing an art, it is not the way. So it's better to draw any magical art than not to draw a perfect one. Lots of work which fascinates me. It was drawn from pure joy of the process, and immortal advice to any art magician can come from the Aleister Crowley's intent to make the work without pursuit of the result, because when you don't have a desire to make a perfect image or song or poem or whatever, when you are trusting the inspiration itself, it can lead you to beautiful places. And I can see how it can be hard to put off this pressure because there can be very different contexts, and for me personally, the importance of making some particular thing can be an obstacle, because when there is too much of the set of tasks, you can easily fall off from the inspiration, because inspiration is very living and illusion thing. You should, or should maybe not the right word, but it loves very tender attention, and it doesn't like a strict voice, for me personally, in my experience. So, and it kind of leads to the goddess, main goddess with which I'm working. Her name is Promethea, and she is embodying the inspiration and imagination as a living force. And I think that it's very important for any magician which uses art in his practice to have some embodiment of the inspiration, of this state of flow, which will help to work with those energies.
And Naomi actually has a follow-up question, which I think hints at these themes that you've traced together, Nightgrowler, which is this. Naomi's asking and saying, as a follow-up, do you think that all art is spiritual in a way, or is there ever a separation? How do you see that? Is there a dichotomy there, just to follow on Naomi's question, or do you think that really all art has that spiritual element?
Well, that's a wonderful question too, because if you would think what a spirit actually is, and there are lots of different interpretations, and one of my favorite is the view of the spirit as an idea, first of all, like the Platonic world of ideas and all those things. For me, spirits are basically our way to grasp an idea. And if you think about art or even any object you can perceive, any object is grounded and reflection of the world of ideas. Like, I don't know, I have this card of Kepra here, and it has a spirit of transformation as an image of Kepra, and it has a spirit of the card representing by itself the overall idea of the image on the paper, and so on. So for me, there is no such a thing as a non-spiritual thing at all. So every art is spiritual, and the question is which spirits and which ideas any particular artwork is transmitting. So I believe that there is difference, because I am not big fan of the postmodern art, because on a bigger scale, it's like the construction of any value behind any of ideas. It's like everything is equal, and everything is nothing, and so on. And one can extract very profound and decent ideas and philosophies from this, but on larger scale, I think postmodern art, with its vanishing of the spirit, basically, it is harming a bit to the humanity, because we are seeing artists as an entertainment figure, while art can teach a lot and can be very important transmitting force for some higher values and all those things. So for me, like with the Kabbalah, there is a hierarchy, or with any spiritual system, there is usually a hierarchy of the ideas. So for me, there is some difference between how valuable different artworks are. But all of those are spiritual, because even if you are trying to express an absence of meaning, it is still transmitting of the idea of the absence of meaning, or the absence of ideas, and you can't escape it.
That's lovely, because it really gets back to that theme that you're always sharing in your art, which is spirit-centered artwork. And that's so interesting with the postmodern comment, because whether it's postmodernism or really any tradition, if it seems to not have a spirit-focused art, would it be fair to say, Nightgrowler, that without that spirit-focused art at the center, at the core, that it simply leaves it not, what would you say, not attaining to its actual purpose of being a channel for other entities, consciousnesses, themes, meanings? Would it be fair to say that without a spirit-centered art form, something's just lacking, something's missing?
Yeah, I think that basically, if you banish spirit from any cultural environment, it can be whole. It can be a whole if you are banishing any element from this. It's like Christianic iconography with their banishing of all, so to say, evil spirits. It's not whole too. Like if you would examine the question of the omnipotent God in Christianity, it has lots of problems. Right to that point where they cannot integrate their so-called Satan into the wholeness of the God. So they need to. It's like this question of if the God is all good, all that summum bonum. So if the Satan is separate entity, then God is not everything. It's not omnipotent. It is some lesser God, which is like I don't know, Yell, which stands for all good aspects of life, but it is not the source. And so on. So for me, yep, to any cultural environment to be the whole, it needs to incorporate all those things, and spirit is very important. And it's so fun to see how like there is. Pop science movement, which is kind of very atheistic, very edgy, and like teenage atheistic vibe to it, which is like, oh no, we hate that spirituality, it's all that nonsense, and so on. And if you are talking to those people, you can see how, first of all, they are not even curious enough to know that their favorite Isaac Newton was an alchemist, that one of the favorite books of Albert Einstein was Isis Unveiled. Uh, I don't even saying, I'm not even saying about how Tesla was communicating with electricity as a living force and so on and so forth, because there are lots of very serious scientific figures which are taking their inspirations from the Kabbalah and from other very important and spiritual sources. And like it's kind of obvious that spirituality is not about some grandpa on the cloud, which is saying do this, not that. Because if you are viewing spirituality like this, your research is not good enough. So,
Well, Nightgrowler, speaking of science and technology and integrating things with purpose and with meaning as an artist, we have another listener question for you from Glitch Bottle patron Ash. And Ash is saying, I've been following your work for years, Ash says, and your recent 3D sculpts are amazing. When making art as a vessel for magical intent, do you see a difference in the results between traditional and digital mediums? During the process of drawing your own tarot deck, how has your understanding of the cards evolved? And which card has taught you the most so far?
wow, that's a wonderful question and a complex one. Thank you, Ash. And it's an honor that you are following my work for quite some time. Thank you. Um, about the 3D, that's something very fascinating. That's a topic which I was kind of avoiding for some technical reasons. Because my main working instrument remains Mac Mini from late 2013, I guess. And if you open any decent 3D software on it, if it had gears, I think I would hear a clear sound that it's not satisfied. So I wasn't touching 3D for quite some time, but I've rediscovered an iPad application, Nomad Sculpt, and I was surprised by how powerful it can be. And I am experimenting on my iPad with this software, and it's quite fascinating. It's new angle. few of those actually, and I knew that 3D is very fun and interesting in this, but the process is capturing me quite well recently. And I'm exploring the possibility of maybe making 3D printed figures. And if I will be fortunate enough, and if I will manage to find some financial resources on that, I would like to explore casting from, I don't know, maybe brass or maybe some other metal, some figurines for altar, for spiritual practice, like maybe crafting some Hindu culture inspired purba, like ritual knife/needle with many faces and so on, because they are quite beautiful, and I believe I would like to make my own interpretation on that. And about the difference with traditional and digital media, they are different, but each of those have their own magic. And I think that difference between these can be traced down to the elements. And traditional media are closer to the earth, and digital are closer to the Aquarian era. So digital media can be more mathematical sometimes, because you can explore their creative potential with some tools like symmetry rulers and all those quick and tools, like you can, if you need some color for a whole canvas, it is one click. If you need one color for whole canvas, if you are using traditional media, bigger canvas, more time. And there is very tactile feelings when you are working with traditional media, and I want to explore also carving with lino carving. Do you know, is it in English lino carving? I'll show you 1 second. I don't know if it captures, I believe it captures. So I don't know how to say it in English, the material, but you are basically carving these things in this material. So that, I believe, is very ancient. No, this is not so very ancient, but the technique of carving and stamping is quite old enough. And I believe that those old tarot decks were that's first printing, it was carved in something.
Wow.
Yeah, and moving to the tarot question, that's a very important project of mine. And it was one of the factors which were aligned with the start of my some sort of spiritual awakening. I don't know. It was 2018 or 19. And I was going through major midlife crisis with lack of understanding what I'm doing here. And tarot were one of the answers. I was thinking that I'm going to make a reproduction of the set of the ancient memes. but it went much, much further. I've discovered that it is a powerful library of the symbolism of Western culture, and not even just Western, because there are different things incorporated there. And I was on the crossroad when I was trying to choose which deck I would use as a reference point. And I had three main choices on that. It was Marcel as pure classic. It was Rider-Waite as most famous deck, and it was Thor deck as most complex. And without hesitation, I've chosen the Thor deck tarot. And not to say that I was disappointed with my choice, but rather challenged because at that moment I had no idea about some serious spirituality, because I was in little context of some New Age stuff and all that. I was like aware about what tarot is and what is basic structure, but to encounter things like in the Book of Thoth, quotes like, well, as the zero equals 2, then, and some following up from that statement, and I was like, I'm sorry, what? Mr. Crowley, I can understand a lot, but not those words which you put in that Book of Thoth. So I was definitely unprepared and shut out, and many, many thanks to wonderful Mr. Lon Milo Duquette with his book Understanding of Thoth Tarot. It's an advertisement from my soul, because it was very, very nice explanation of lots of things which are contained in the Book of Thoth. So for everyone who is trying to understand any tarot deck, I would highly suggest to draw your deck, and it doesn't matter what artistic skills do you have. It doesn't matter how well prepared you are. It doesn't matter in which even material, digital, or even, I don't know, with your finger on the sand. The very process of drawing those archetypal figures, it has significant impact on you, because lots of and it also has its own synchronistic aspects. Like with the Thoth Tarot, I had some major moments of the confirmation that my choice with the Thoth Tarot deck was the right one, because the card of the Emperor, maybe I was mentioning this in previous podcast. When I was making a sketch for the Emperor, I've noticed that the wand, or the scepter of the Emperor is similar in its geometry in my sketch to both the fishing hook and to the sign of Aries. And it was a major epiphany, because in the Thoth Tarot there is one of the major differences from the other decks. it is due to the correspondence of each card to astrological symbols and Hebrew letters, which is deriving from the book of the law, from the words that all letters from my old book are right, but Sadi is not a star. And as far as I know, Crowley had a lot of time thinking which is Tzadi and how to reinterpret this. And Tzadi basically means fishing hook, and Crowley attributed it to the card Emperor. And that geometry resonance was a very important side for me. And later, the funny thing happened, which is bound to this replacement of the Sadi with Emperor and another letter which was the Emperor's before, He, with the card of the star. Because when I was drawing the star, I was drawing the figure of the lady, which is basically the Babylon. I was drawing it using as a reference a photo of a lady that I know, and I was sure that her natal sun is in Aries, because under this photo in the Instagram post, there was a little note that sun in Aries, moon in Taurus. And I was like, okay, maybe that's her natal placements. And I was like sure that that was what it was. And nearly a year after I drew this card, I suddenly saw that she is celebrating her birthday in February. And I was like, whoa, aren't you an Aries in your natal sun? And she was like, no, I am an Aquarius. And I was like, wow, that is something very strange and funny going on here, because that's exactly that replacement. And in my personal story of developing my personal interpretation of the Thoth Tarot deck, Sadi is not an Aries. I was sure that she is Aries, and she happens to be Aquarius, which corresponds directly to the card star. Going to the question about what card taught me the most, I believe for now it is maybe Fortune, because main topic of the Fortune card for me is the simple and ancient proverb about the only constant is change. And every good or bad situation is not forever. And the notion of that helped me to go through lots of harsh experiences. And once again, the very process of drawing it taught me a lot. And so that's for the tarot and digital and traditional media.
Well, that's so excellent, Nightgrowler. And you were mentioning Aleister Crowley, of course, and those specific currents. I think this leads to the next listener question we have for you from Glitch Bottle patron Frater Delighted. And Frater is asking, I have been following your work for some time, and I seem to notice and increased use of thelemic imagery. I wonder if you might speak about your personal relationship with Thelema and how you see it in the context of the greater contemporary occult scene.
Thank you, Frater Delighted, for this question. Thelema is something with which something what I met in the comic book Promethea by Alan Moore. There were some notions of that. It was not incorporated into the overall structure, but lots of mentions of Aleister Crowley, lots of mentions of topics related to the Thelema. And I was wondering, what's the thing with Crowley? Why almost every modern source leading to this person? And I began my exploration of his work with my work on the Thoth Tarot deck, like my interpretation on that. And it is, as always, a complicated topic with the relation to Mr. Crowley himself, because he was obviously a complicated person, to say the less. And he was problematic in many aspects of his life and his deeds and his heritage, maybe. But in overall Thelemic corpus, I have some gems which for me are very, very important sources of the inspiration, and they are pointing to something very important, like with the very word Thelema, which is Greek for the will. It is important even if Ukrainian context too, because one of the central ideas of Ukraine in Ukrainian sounds like voля. Voля stands for both freedom and the will in Ukrainian. It is one word for these things. And the will is something very, very strange, because there is like no concrete understanding within society what actually will is. And it is very debatable topic, and all those masterminds like, I don't know, Schopenhauer, like Nietzsche, like Crowley, like Moore, like many people who were debating on that topic, there is no consensus on that. And I think that the very notion and overall aim of the Thelemic spiritual wave is this important process of discovering one's true will, how one can integrate to the overall stream of things, how can one transmit those very solar, I believe, qualities which are standing for the will with capital V and with capital W. And for me, it's quite fascinating field for the research and artistic inspiration and spiritual inspiration too.
I think that's so great hearing your perspective, because it's a perspective of an esotericist, but it's also a perspective of an esotericist artist. And I think that's just so great to hear how you think about those different things, Nightgrowler. That's absolutely lovely. Also, to kind of follow up from Ash's question earlier when you were touching on 3D art, is there anything else that you'd like to add about 3D art in terms of what you like about it versus other mediums, or anything else about 3D art that you have not shared about yet?
It basically has very interesting process of having those different angles, because when you are drawing, you have one stable perspective. There is one of the ancient ways for 2D artists to check for any mistakes which are going on, is to reflect the image. If you are mirroring the image, you can clearly see what's not right. And with the 3D art, you don't need to do mirroring, because slightly different angle shows you everything. And I would suggest to anyone to try this by yourself, even with traditional sculpturing media, because I was experimenting with the clay. 1 second, I'll show my results of the experiment. That's a figurine inspired by the Tripilian culture. It's my representative of the Venus. And Tripilian culture is an ancient culture which was habiting territories of modern Ukraine, and they were like, I don't quite remember when, like 3000 BC or something like that. And they have we have lots of artifacts with Tropilian goddesses and bull gods, because I don't know if there is some concrete parallel, but I believe the Tropilian culture flourished when the age of Taurus was, and when in Mesopotamia there were those bull-horned Lamassu, and the cult of Apis, if I'm right, was in its rising. So I would suggest to try work with both traditional and digital 3D media, because the very process is quite fascinating. Because when I'm opening that Nomad Sculpt, there is a danger that for like 6 hours and full battery from 100 to 0, I will be just immersed in this, because there are lots of possibilities, and it's a whole new dimension. My 3D experience was also I had an opportunity to try VR headset, Oculus something. I don't remember what was that. It is standalone headset with no wires, and that's very interesting field to explore too, because there is an app, Open Brush, I believe it is called, or Tilt Brush. Something of this is previous version of another. And it's basically drawing in 3D. You can draw with different light effects, with different particles. And I believe it is very interesting tool for the magicians, because you can make whole, I don't know, LBRP, whatever, any ritual within VR space, where you can have a very beautiful, vibrant image of the ritual itself. And when you have experienced this image in full scale, your imagination can reconstruct this much easier when you are doing actual ritual. So on the topics of the interesting ways to work with 3D, that's I believe is the one.
That's awesome. And this also leads to something that I know you've heard a lot about and we hear a lot about, which is of course artificial intelligence generated art and AI art. So yeah, tell us, Nightgrowler. I mean, as an esotericist, as an artist, what are your thoughts on AI generated art? Does this hurt artists? Is this a tool? Do we need to be very careful with this? I mean, just what are your thoughts on everything?
Well, I was experimenting with AI art like in the summer of last year. And since then, for my personal artwork, I wasn't touching this for kind of spiritual, ethical reasons and so on, because to say that I see this as a demonic force would be exaggeration, but it wouldn't be far from my feelings from it. It's complicated because it can easily impress you. It's truly powerful tool. That's no doubt. It's very intricate. It has very powerful calculated powers, powerful powers. And nevertheless, if one would explore the how it affects the creativity, I would say it is too fast rewarding because with lots of artworks, the path to the artwork is much more important than the artwork itself. I don't remember whose quote that is, but it is very true with my experience. And the quote sounds something like, "My paintings are the ashes of my art." And that's something which is hard to transmit to the person who doesn't have a creative experience and who doesn't engage with creative activity, because the very process, the very feeling of the right, it's like I don't know, meta synchronicity moment when you are creating the work of art, when you are truly inspired, you cannot mistake this for just production of the image because you have a skill. Because I have a skill which is like, okay, it's not bad art to sell it. And if I need to produce some image, I can do this for having, I don't know, 8 hours, and it would be like normal depiction of whatever. But in the moment when I am truly inspired, when I am in a state of flow, it is like whole universe is conspiring for production of that image and of that experience, because every line in the music which I'm hearing on the background, everything I touch, see, and smell, everything works for the same idea, and it results in production of some artifact. And I don't see for me personally, for now, ways for working with AI in which I have same experience, because AI is like taking from you the journey, and it's like one can climb a mountain and one can take a helicopter and to be on the top of the mountain in 5 minutes. And if you need production of images, I think AI is wonderful tool, but it has lots of problematic aspects due to the creative rights, because the libraries from which AI is taking references to mold some image are not licensed in any way. No artist is having any money for the fact that AI is using their imagery. Like if you are Googling, I don't know, Alex Gray, there was point, I don't know if it's true for now, but there was point where Googling Alex Gray, you have some artworks of actual Alex Gray and lots of images which are generated in the style of Alex Gray. And that's basically nonsense and a dangerous road for the humanity, in terms of we can lose artists as a part of society, because once again, if we are underestimating the role of the artist in our society, we are in danger. We are in this entertainment distraction culture, which is basically bombarding individuals with lots of shiny things just to have them distracted from some real problems and actual cases. And well, that's one of the parts of why AI is complicated and some sort of problematic topic, because and these quick shots of dopamine which it is providing, they are not inspirational for me personally, so something like that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I'm sure the listeners do too, Nightgrowler, because it's so important that we protect artists, that we protect the rights of artists, the intellectual property of artists, and also, as you said, their role in society. It's so absolutely critical. And Nightgrowler as well, shifting from AI, very, technological, to somebody who is very, shall we say, old school, Alan Moore, of course, the great Alan Moore. You touched last time on the last podcast appearance about the importance of Alan Moore, his amazing work. I think Alan Moore is great. His daughter as well. She's fantastic, right? So
wonderful.
yes, she's so creative. It's really wonderful. So can you tell us, in the last 2 years since you stopped on the podcast before, can you just share with listeners again about why is Alan Moore's work just so inspirational and so meaningful to you as an artist?
Mr. Moore is a person which was one of the key elements for my that spiritual awakening, which I was mentioning, because in very strange time of my life when I was lost, his work with two major works like Promethea and the essay Fossil Angels, they've explained to me what I was doing for my whole life, because I wasn't understanding the role of art. I was thinking that I'm just producing some fancy pictures, which are fun most of all. And with a wonderful essay on the magic and its relation to art, The Fossil Angels. The title is inspired by the artwork of Marjorie Cameron, which was, I believe, a Scarlet Woman of Jack Parsons, if I remember everything correctly. So in that essay, he explores themes of the art and magic, and he is pointing to the fact that magic is actually a transmission of the ideas, and art is extremely valuable vessel of those ideas. It is the transporting force for this. And I began to explore these topics in those works when I've discovered that Moore had stated on his birthday that he is a magician. And basically, my research on that quote led me to exploring the tarot, the angelic hierarchies, and so on. And Alan Moore further work too, because he has lots of different even mediums of magical workings. Are you familiar with his music CDs like Moon and Serpent Moon and Serpent Theater of Magic, or like the Snakes and Ladders? Have you heard those?
I have heard about them, but I have not actually heard them yet. Sadly, something I will fix. Something I will fix.
Yeah, it's very, very, very worth checking out, because these are like audio theater versions of the theatrical performances which Moore had in Northampton, in his hometown. And they are exploring different topics. Some of those are occult topics, and there is wonderful audio CD, and it is available on Spotify, I believe. It is called Unearthing, and it is dedicated to this Steve Moore. He's no relative, but he was a very good friend of Alan Moore. He died recently, and there is there is a printed version of this audio theater, and it is like a magazine. It is very creatively decorated. It is very it's very touching. It is very sincere and tender work. You can see how much of love Mr. Moore had to Mr. Moore, and has, I believe. He touches in this work themes of the relationship between Steve Moore and Selene, the moon goddess. He touches some personal biographical facts about Steve Moore and their own adventures together, because Steve Moore basically was the mentor of Alan Moore, and he was the person which introduced Alan Moore to magic and to the Glycon, the Roman hairy serpent, the solar god, and the second coming of the Asclepius. And his works, which can be heard as audio CDs, they are wonderful. I highly recommend those. Like in the Snakes and Ladders, Moore is taking your hand and walking you through from the Malkuth through the path of the universe to the Yesod, and later through the path of the Samech to the Tiferet, and various artists are mentioned there. Macon, I believe, Rossetti, and a few more. And there is extremely beautiful quote from that performance, which captured me a lot. It was about Rossetti, I believe. I will get it just out of context, and I will provide you the quote. And it sounded like clay looks on clay and understands it's beautiful. And in overall context of this performance, it was very striking thing to me. And I'm even now given a bit sentimental, and it's something that moves my heart. It's something which says a lot about what I am trying to do, and about what I'm trying to transmit with my work. And it is. It resonates with the nature of the sphere Tiferet, which is also means beauty, and that's very powerful work of his. And so I suggest to anyone listening, if you are curious about esoteric topics, works of Alan Moore are astonishing place to explore, and one of the most comfortable to those who are new to these topics, or for those who are skeptical about these topics. Because with works of Alan Moore and with some statements from there, I've managed to explain to those of my friends which are highly skeptical of any spiritual matters about how can this make sense, because Mr. Moore has both mystical counterpart in his work and very rational one, because he's explaining with just crushing arguments how art can be spiritual and why does this matter.
Very powerful. And I think that just goes to show you that continuity, that kind of lineage, if you will, of artist to artist. There's this almost an invisible transmission rather, of ideas.
I see this. I had an idea of little comic book about the void. It was with the basic scenario was like I had a friend, imaginary friend in my childhood. It looked like me now. His name was Jesus, and it was a comforting figure in some hard times in my childhood. And around the age 15, I was like having a conversation with the person, and I had some questions to the why, Mr. Jesus, your representatives, like the church, are so greedy persons. Maybe you have answers, I don't know. And he was like, okay, maybe can I hug you? And I was like, okay. And he's hugging me, and in his hand appears the nail with which he is basically striking my back. And in this comic book, there should be the scenes where I am growing up, and there is one constant narrative with me in a bathroom, looking in the mirror and exploring how in my chest is growing the black hole, which has the void. And I'm trying to fill it with, I don't know, some Slavic paganism, with some new age stuff, with pop culture, with anything, but it just continues to grow. And then by the scenario, there should be the scene where I am encountering some network of the how do you say that, lighthouses. These are giant figures shaped like humans with glowing eyes, from which the light is emitting. And one such a figure with a shaped like Alan Moore, it is turning, and its light is cast onto me, and it lightens the chest, and it lightens the area of the void. And what is seen there, that it is not the darkness, but it is everything which I was put in there, and it is constructing the one unique pattern of my own psyche, of my own self, my unique combination of those various ingredients. And it wasn't void all that time. It was basically the process of coagulation of something. And so I had this idea because I see those great artists as great lighthouses, which are showing the path.
That's beautiful. It's a very beautiful, it's a very powerful image. It's an image of continuity and illumination, and I very much appreciate that, and I think the listeners will as well. Nightgrowler, thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. And actually, this goes to another listener question. Speaking of connecting with humans and all over the world, we do have a listener question for you from Glitch Bottle patron Blaine Foster, and Blaine is asking and saying, "Hi, Nightgrowler. I love your work. My question is, do you speak with Russian artists in Russia or living outside of Russia? What is your message to Russian artists who, like you, want peace and they want to practice their art?"
Oh, that is a complicated and important topic, full of disappointment. I had lots of contacts with Russian artists before. I have none of them nowadays because when the war had started, I will try to find the words which are not too offensive. I believe that quote is like from the darkest times, we remember much clearly not the voices of our enemies, but the absence of the voices of our friends. And I will not mention, although I would like to, but I will not mention anyone. There are some figures which I knew, which are critically acclaimed and very, very powerful artists in Russia, like the nationwide known artists. with which I was communicating, and they have very, very strong and very government criticizing works, which were like lights of hope that art is valuable in Russia and art has a voice in Russia and all those. And when such powerful figures, when such freedom islands, I don't know, people who are constantly speaking about the good, the light, the freedom, the all valuable things which are absent in totalitarian structures. When those people are meditating for good for 2 days and then saying nothing, it hurts. It hurts a lot. And I don't know if I speak even for now with Russian artists. Like there are few contacts which I wasn't clearly end. So we hadn't conversation then that like we are now not speaking. But we had there are few artists which were clearly stating their position, and most of those are outside of Russia, and I appreciate their effort. It's very important. It's very brave. It's truly brave. That's not sarcasm. That's from my heart. But we had some sort of natural distancing from each other, like with no conversation on that topic, and it just hurts to talk. It's very, very, very upsetting and strange thing. I I am thankful for to every person from Russia who had bravery to speak up, to uh, to be that voice in the dark crowd, which is trying to better things, because if you are exploring the Russian side of the Ukrainian conflict, it is just horrifying. It is from the government to the regular people, like there are just insane claims, because lots of listeners, I believe, are familiar with the Putin's speech with the Tucker Carlson, I believe, or how that interviewer, what is his name, where Putin he is explaining his ridiculous lore, which is stranger than Warhammer, where he is trying to convince everyone that Ukraine was made by Lenin and all that stuff, which can be deconstructed in so many ways with so very few clicks on the Wikipedia, on any, or even not the Wikipedia. There are lots of sources which are decomposing that speech to pieces. And that falls for whole hierarchy, because former president of the Russian Federation recently stated that Ukraine is clearly Russia. he was trying to make a pun around the book of the Leonid Kuchma, who is former president of Ukraine, and his book is named "Ukraine is not Russia." And Medvedev having a big speech in Sochi on some conversation with huge and absolutely disgusting map on the background where Ukraine is like only the Kiev region and everything, all other Ukrainian territories are either part of Russia or part of Poland. And he said that Ukraine is definitely Russia and that it is within Russian political interests and so on. And everything of this goes down to the regular people. And it even goes to one conversation which I had like in 2012 or maybe 2021. No, in 2020 or 2021. I had a person, he is now dead. We were talking, just exchanging some esoteric, mostly ideas. He was interested in the Hermes, and I was just sharing my knowledge. It was a very regular thing to me. I'm just uploading my art. I am deliberately sharing what is depicted, how it is depicted. And so we just had some conversations. We began to exchange different opinions on some things. He is dead because he had huge problems with the alcohol. When the war started and when we were when it was obvious that it wouldn't end in 1, 2, 3, and 5 months, I remembered my conversation with that person, where he was talking about the Great War, that there is need for preparation. There is need for preparation for the war with NATO. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, okay, we have a war on the east, on the Donbass, because Russia was sponsoring those forces from the Donetsk and Luhansk forces. And it was kind of local conflict. And there, at the moment, there wasn't even any preparation seen about that Putin will march on Ukraine in a full scale. And that guy was talking to me that there is need to prepare to the war because the war with NATO will be. And I was like, that's nonsense. What are you talking about? Russia cannot move on to the NATO because we are here. Don't you remember that we are? And I was saying about that familiarity which Russians had to our folks in the terms that that's just our little brother. And he was like, oh, well, guy, relax. It's okay. We will go. And your country will join us, and we will all together, like in a funny way, we will march on, I don't know, Poland and so on. And I was like, what a nonsense. Nobody here wants to have a war with Europe. Are you crazy? And he was like, no, I'm serious. And I was thinking that it was some sort of drunk delusion. And I was not paying enough attention to that. And I was like, okay, man, let's with you. I will not discuss politics because we are heading clearly not the right path. If you want, I can tell you about Hermes. If you want to spread your propaganda, go elsewhere. I will not listen to this. And I wasn't thinking that it is that serious that they can march on Ukraine. Right to the point of the invasion, me and many of Ukrainians were sure that Putin is bluffing, that it is basically putting pressure on our government, and it will not go to the full-scale invasion. And basically, this narrative it is reflected in those things which many of Russians are saying, because there are some military experts from Russia or military guys from Russia. There are recorded videos on the internet from their streams and their conversations where one of those actually says that our Ukrainian friends should should woke up because they are our mobilizational resource for the war with NATO. That's direct translation of the quote. So they are basically viewing us as a meat resource to fight NATO for whatever reason. That's why I'm saying that to go against this flow for any person from Russia is an act of bravery. Unfortunately, it is something which is really quite hard to do. The Russian government put all gears for this mission, so it would function in that way. So any resistance would be terminated, like in the beginning. And for any person from Russia who is listening now, well, your future is in your hands. There are many ways to resist this chthonic force. And if you will not resist it, it will devour you and it will make you part of it. Is this what you want?
Nightgrowler, given everything that you've been sharing, you faced many difficulties, obviously, in the last 2 years. Destruction, death, war. Things that are just everywhere. And for many of the people listening, maybe they've never gone through something like that, but eventually they will encounter the death of, say, a loved one, or tragedy, personal tragedy, or depression, and really tough times. So given all of that, can you maybe share some rituals or practices that you personally do that bring centering and calm and, really bring you back to that kind of Malkuthian grounding? Is there anything that you can share with listeners that maybe they can explore in their own practice?
Well, yes. For me, first of all, the thing which was mentioned before, the very creative act, any artistic experience is for me first and most powerful way of grounding and keeping going. And secondly, exploration of some universal, some worldwide spiritual traditions and your local tradition are very important too. So I think that trust your intuition and it will lead you to some unexpected and beautiful places. Speaking about the exploring your local traditions, unfortunately, after the Russian invasion, I should do that earlier. I began to explore Ukrainian culture much more. What are the sources? What do we have now? And there are very, very interesting and very inspiring elements of this because due to the forceful Christianization, we had lots of traditional sources destroyed. We have very, very few notions about some Slavic gods which were worshipped and which were present on these areas. We have most of our heritage is embedded in the folk song. If you know that melody, the Carol of the Bells, it is actually highly inspired by the Ukrainian traditional folk songs. And it was made by the the compositor with Ukrainian roots. I will provide a link for quite beautiful video on that topic. And in these little surviving pieces of information, you can find a spark of something very important. My ways of working with this is step by step, very slow. I hope I will do this a bit faster. I'm step by step constructing something which I see as a magic alphabet based on the Ukrainian one. The very math of the Ukrainian alphabet is provoking to do so because there are 33 letters in the Ukrainian alphabet. And well, we will go to the first class math. I don't know, do you have first class like for the kids? Because we have first, second, third class. And yeah. 33 is 21 plus 12. And these are basically 7 by 3 and 4 by 3. And sounds like kindergarten stuff, but for me, it's 7 planets and 4 elements in 3 major states. And for now, more than 1 year, I'm trying to attribute some particular letters to all those forces. And I'm trying to gather their different sources, including there is a letter Y. In Ukrainian, it looks like I, but with 2 dots above. And I very like the tradition of the Greek attributing of the vowels to the planets. And for me, the letter E stands for the Mercury because having a stick with two dots above looks like a caduceus to me, or looks like a very, very, very stylized image of the thought, which is looking straight forward to you, where his face just looks like a stick a bit. And I'm trying to incorporate those different sources like Egyptian iconography, traditional Ukrainian iconography, Greek gods, and many other valuable forces and sources because I see Ukraine from my perspective as the crossroad of the world, because we are between the ultimate East and ultimate West. We are between North and South. And there is mention from the Alan Moore about the mention from the Alan Moore about wherever you are at the center of the universe, because your individual consciousness produces in every direction your own world. And for me, Ukraine stands at this crossroads, and I want to incorporate into that alphabet as much as I can, maybe even some Sumerian stuff, because recently I began to explore working with Inanna last year when Venus was in Leo, and that's also to the question how I'm choosing the subjects and topics on which I'm drawing. Sometimes just astrological placements of current moment are dictating me that, whoa, Venus in Leo. I feel something very, very strong here, and I have seen it somewhere, and like, whoa, Inanna. And it basically runs all synchronicities into the process of making the artwork. And what is also important on this topic is the cultural revival tendencies which are encountering here in Ukraine. Like there is the lady which helped me to do this lady. She is named on the Instagram as Wu Moon, and she is exploring different aspects of Ukrainian heritage. She is an artist, and she has very, very beautiful works which are dedicated to the astrology, to Ukrainian culture, to even Hindu culture. She is now exploring Vedic astrology. I will show you later the link to her work. And there is also a place which is named Karbon Baba. It is like an attic, which is also a place where one girl is making, lady, she's making clothes there. She's a designer, and she just basically, I will show you some pictures of that. She basically turned that place into the like traditional house of Ukrainian culture. It is like the some sort of ancient aesthetics, and there is sort of event which is called Вечорниці, which is basically evening party, and it follows Ukrainian traditional songs, dances, different rites, which are often tied to the different parts of the year, like solstices and equinoxes and all that stuff. And it is very, very powerful and beautiful Ukrainian cultural revival movement. And shout out to Marisa and huge respects and so much love. That's wonderful and it's very powerful. And also, I would like to mention overall Ukrainian artistic community, which is continuing to work to make new forces of the Ukrainian culture. My beautiful girlfriend is part of that movement because she's creating very, very beautiful and she's very talented. Her skill is much above mine. She's extreme in that terms. Her work is astonishing. She's just diminishing with her skill. And many thanks to every creative person in Ukraine, because we are at survival edge right now, and if we will not do our thing, it will happen again, no matter how things will turn up, if we will not build strong Ukrainian culture, another culture will devour us. So for these 2 years, I am much clearer. I have much clearer understanding of why Gibura matters, because I was very pacifistic person with despise of anything military. I was here in Ukraine among the youth. You don't have that respect to the military as you have in US, because it was viewed like the military is aggressive waste of time and basically just a nonsense from the past. And that notion costed a lot. So once again, great thanks to every soldier and to every person which is defending Ukrainian borders. And well, that's very, very tough times.
Well, I know myself, and I'm sure the listeners who are artists, who are esotericists, take inspiration in your ability to transmute the destruction, the death, all of these very, very incredibly difficult experiences into the tributaries of art. And Nightgrowler, of course, listeners, definitely check out the links in the podcast and video description below to support Nightgrowler on Patreon, for example, to check out, which is great, a lot of really great things that you post on Patreon. So make sure to check out Nightgrowler there. Also, Nightgrowler's Instagram, which we will link to, of course. In addition to the Instagram and the Patreon, is there any other way that people can support you, or anything else you'd like to let the listeners know about?
Well, major ways are really sharing and any activity on the Instagram. If you have an opportunity, you can support my work on Patreon. And on Patreon, I'm trying to make my art as accessible as I can, but I'm trying to provide to my Patreon subscribers some extras. And usually those are the early access to my new art. Sometimes I post there some exclusives which are not available anywhere else. One of the things I'm also sharing there is my artwork in forms of 4K wallpapers. And that's something which I'm using a lot in my own magical practice because I have 4K TV, and I'm just opening the image there and spending some time with it, like meditating or chanting any mantras related to the deity depicted. And you can try it by yourself because my patron has some free posts with these HD or 4K images, and you can download some of these and try how does it work for you. And the other way to support my work is buying my talismans. I have no consistent production line for now. I am currently looking for right manufacturer, and I'm experimenting with those. So these are kind of rare, and I am producing small waves of those. So you can see on my Instagram which are available now, and you can reach out and to check if you can buy one of those. And you can also commission some spiritual artwork, so I can draw on particular hour and particular days on deity or spirit for you. And also, I would like to say a few Thanksgiving to the important persons in my life, which are also creators to which work you can reach to have some esoteric knowledge. First of all, of course, mentioned above Alan Moore. I highly encourage to explore his work, and lots of that was said before. Also, I highly recommend the works of the Frater Acker, and also any episode of Frater Acker on your podcast. It's always so nice to hear that. It's always wonderful conversation, and Frater Acker is very inspiring with how sober is his approach to the spirituality. It's very beautiful. So if you are interested in topics of the Holy Guardian Angel, that's definitely a place to check. Also, huge thanks to the Marco Visconti. He's a beautiful teacher, and he's very inspiring person too, and his sober approach to spirituality is also a way to mention. So if you are like to dive into Thelema, that's the place to go. Also, Samuel David with his beautiful works dedicated to the Mesopotamian culture. Alex Gray and the band Tool. These are wonderful artists too, and there is beautiful exploration of the Fury Inoculum album, which is called Alchemy of the Fury Inoculum, I believe, on YouTube. That's definitely worth checking. It's a tremendous amount of research of how the very album up to the every note is constructed in Kabbalistic ways. And the Costco art, a person which inspired me to draw my own tarot deck. He's an artist from Ukraine, and I began to draw my deck when I bought his deck in 2019. So thanks to all, and that's much lesser names that I would like to mention, but thank you to everyone. And for those who I haven't mentioned, I believe I will in next episodes or somewhere else.
Ukrainian-based esotericist, artist, alchemist, transmuter of many different forces into art. Nightgrowler. Nightgrowler, just really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your wisdom and your art on the podcast today. Thank you just so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It is an honor.